the Ian McKellens of the world. That's not acting.
Light the beam, because it's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, is the People's Champ, Tim Cack.
If you feel it, chase it, baby.
If you feel it, chase it. And today, we are chasing Beetlejuice with the help of a good friend of ours. You may know her from the Manysided Media podcasts, of which she is the co-founder. It's Abby Hepworth.
Hello.
Yay.
Abby, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. So for Beetlejuice, we all saw this together on Saturday. I think I know the answer. I know Tim did not like the first Beetlejuice. You liked the first Beetlejuice, right?
I liked the first one a lot. Not like a favorite. I'm not rewatching it all of the time of the Halloween movies. It's I think a pretty good classic. I was into it. I dug it.
Right on. So for the sequel, what do you think?
Oh, it was a real disappointment. A bummer. It's okay. So I had a lot of fun. It's insane because that's really the vibes that it's supposed to be, and crazy and kooky and weird. But ultimately, it just never went anywhere. Like, I'm not going to rewatch it. Had a fun enough time, but it was way too many ideas and tried to do, I think, too much both fan service and trying to be like cool and new. And it really just should have picked like 2, maybe 3 things and just do that. Let's narrow the focus.
What's the Anna Wintour thing? Like, before you leave the house, look at yourself in the mirror and take off one accessory?
Yes, Coco Chanel. It was
Coco
before
Chanel.
you leave the house. Yeah. And this was very much Tim Burton was like, more is more, baby. And it's like, is it though? Because then also I feel like we didn't get more of what you actually wanted.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. It left me wanting on a few of the big things. Like, would have loved to see a little bit more of like choices, like stuff going on with Lydia. She's weirdly like inactive for being kind of the protagonist of this whole movie.
She is, yes. And I feel like there's the one time where she really like makes a decision and is like, I'm gonna sign this contract and do it, and like I'm really gonna go and do a thing. And then it just doesn't actually go it's like an exciting moment, and then it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. There's just no consequences. Tim, counterpoint, you dug this movie, didn't you?
I liked it, but I hated the first one. And this goes with my Fury Road theory, which is if you love a sequel, then it's been a while since you've watched the first one, or you didn't love the first one. It's like differing opinions, right? Everyone that loved Fury Road hadn't watched, everyone that loved Furiosa hadn't watched Fury Road in a while. And I think all the people liking Beetlejuice are the ones who didn't really care that much about Beetlejuice.
That absolutely makes sense to me.
Because this movie's just fun and chill. It's a vibe. You're right. Lydia, I don't know what her deal is. She can't make a decision. She can't stand up for herself until she goes to get her daughter, but then she goes right back to not standing up for herself. Jenna Ortega, I guess, has a boyfriend. Monica Bellucci is there. Justin Theroux, I'm tired of. I'll be honest, the guys in this, I did not need any of them. When Justin Theroux showed up, I was like, this is going to get real old real fast. And the second that Jenna met her boyfriend in the treehouse, I was like, I don't want this at all. These are two incredibly annoying and or uninteresting characters, even though I will say it's obvious almost instantly that Jeremy is a ghost trapped in this house and the treehouse. Right. It still took me a long time to be invested in him. And once I was invested, the payoff is that Beetlejuice very easily kills him and dismisses the whole thing. So you're not rewarded for being invested in this.
No, not at all.
You gotta stay. If you stay on the surface, there's fun ripples, but you're not supposed to go any deeper than that. I think is my big takeaway from Beetlejuice.
I'm fully on board with that. Cause I had fun. I laughed. I was smiling. Like I had a good time. But in terms of deep plot, don't get invested in any of it because you will simply be disappointed. As long as you stay surface level.
It's everything was dispensed with so quickly in this. I was blown away by how quickly they got rid of Justin Theroux and Monica Bellucci after an entire movie of buildup of these two.
We're gonna building her up to be like the big bad of like terrifying, like literally soul sucking. Like she's the scariest, sexiest, coolest thing. And then it's like, she got eaten by a sandworm, and so did he, and that's the end of that. And I'm like,
it's crazy.
You could just cut her out of the movie. She has no impact on anything. Beetlejuice, he forces Winona Ryder to sign a contract agreeing to marry him because he wants to marry her and she wants her daughter back. Beetlejuice, one of the few things we know about him is that he wants to marry Lydia anyway, regardless of this. He doesn't need Monica Bellucci's Dolores presence haunting him for him to keep doing the thing that he's always wanted to do, right? He doesn't need extra motivation to want to get with Lydia because that's been his only motivation like this whole time, I think. So you cut her out, you lose nothing. She is defeated the exact same way Justin Theroux's character is defeated. You don't need to edit anything else out. You literally just got her screen time. Bob's still alive. That's fun. And then you kill off Justin Theroux when you kill him off. I mean, it's such a wasted opportunity for a character that had a very cool entrance. Once you put herself together.
She was so cool. And I went into this also thinking about like the Halloween costume opportunities and moments. Cause like the visuals are cool and like pretty iconic and awesome. And for her, I was like, yes, this is so cool. And her character's fun and like this scary, sexy situation going on. I was like, I'm on board. And then you're right. You could cut every one of her scenes and this movie would be near an identical experience. But I also think that's true of a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people you could lose, but it feels like a shame in Monica Bellucci's part because the idea of there being somebody who is obsessed with Beetlejuice and wants to rekindle their relationship with him as a flip on his perspective in the first movie is really fun. And in general, like, what is a person who really wants to be with Beetlejuice like? Like, this guy is the weirdest, grossest thing we've ever seen. And I don't feel like they played at all with who would want to be with him. Like, they didn't really play it comedically in any direction with Monica Bellucci's character. She's just like kind of seductive and does like an evil, like soul sucking thing. But we're never given a reason that she actually wants to be with him. They died together and their souls were bound to each other. But why did she want him in the first place when they were alive? Like, why him? It's all very weird.
It sounds like he's pretty fucking weird in life.
But it
sounds like what was the draw there?
It sounded like she's not even into him. She just needs somebody to kill, right? And then
I think she just wants revenge.
Him so she can kill him. And that's how they die. And then he kills her, so they die. And now I think she's just out for revenge. So I don't even think she's like attracted to Beetlejuice. Or maybe she is. I mean, I think what you just pitched is way more interesting than her getting revenge. The idea of her being obsessed with Beetlejuice, the way Beetlejuice is obsessed with Lydia, is a very funny, interesting concept that could have been a very fun take on this. And
I was going to say, I would have loved to have seen more of, her obsession with him and her being not just a sort of one-dimensional terror situation, but being her own weird little freak. Like, I want to see how weird and gross she is, that such that she and Beetlejuice would make a couple. Like, I want to see her match his freak. Like, I want to see this. I feel like we didn't get that, and I wanted her character to be more, which again I think is something I could say about almost any element of the whole movie. Of like, the dad you could have cut that whole part too. You're right. I would have, do you know what I also really would have loved to have seen more of was any scene that was Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, and Jenna Ortega getting to be together, because they were so fun as a trio. And especially Catherine O'Hara. I mean, I'm obsessed with her. But it just would have been so much more fun to watch the three of them getting to play off one another. And then, yeah, when you throw Justin Theroux in there, you're just like, I don't know. You're right. He got old fast.
It was tiring. It was tiring to be around Justin Theroux. Whereas Catherine O'Hara was like, I don't know how this movie's going to go, but every scene I'm in is going to be fun.
Exactly.
And she's just going crazy, and it's great. Everything she does is fabulous and over the top and so fun. I like the fact that she actually just dies in it, which is crazy because she does so much stupid stuff. It makes sense that she would die.
I was honestly so sad, but then I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. She would have been internet scammed into buying poisonous snakes who murder her immediately. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's so good. And then for her to be stoked about it when she realizes that it's going to make the price for artwork go up. Awesome. Like,
oh my God,
great character
so
move.
funny. Yes. Just also everyone's really nonchalant relationship with death and that she just died and like that this is going on is just so ridiculous. It's great.
Crazy. I mean, you would probably inherently have a strange relationship with this stuff if you knew that there was like a portal to the afterlife where you could go in and see people again and had prior experience with ghosts and stuff. But then there are some weird like logistics questions that this movie raises, such as the Soul Train, where the Soul Train is presented to us as a threat. Like, the implication is that if you go on the Soul Train, you're gone forever, right?
Right. I think you're supposed to read it as like, you can hang out around here, in which case like Lydia could see you and her daughter could see you and like you're more of a ghost presence, or you can hop on the Soul Train, but it's a one-way ticket, like, and that's the end, baby.
And so who has to go on the train? Because when she gets her spirit stolen by the guy, when Jenna Ortega gets her like humanhood stolen by the guy, they just immediately are like, all right, put her on the train. She doesn't get to just like fuck around in Ghostland. He was living in a house. She doesn't get to go live in the house.
I was going to say, why doesn't she just get to go live in the treehouse or like, get a job stamping passports like her dad? I mean, why doesn't she have options?
I guess they're just trying to write her off so she can't get her soul back from this guy or something like that, right? Like he got her soul, so now she needs to be dead so that he can keep it forever. I don't know how they figured out that arrangement, but it seems to be working. There's a lot of these things that I don't get, which is like the dad. Why can't they see the dad? He's even at some point he's like, I know you can't see me. No explanation though. So are they going to be able to see Catherine O'Hara?
It looked like she was getting on the Soul Train. So
or did she stop her husband from getting on the Soul Train so the two of them can come back and haunt?
Oh my God, I hope so. Because if they ever do a third one, and Catherine O'Hara is not a part of it, I will be devastated. I hope at least she can send her husband. He's only half a body anyway. That joke, I feel like, got played for as much as it was going to get played for. But if I want her back, yeah.
Yeah, I think they went over budget on that prosthetic and they're like, we are going to use this.
Where they're like, we really got to make the most out of this. Yeah.
They should do a third movie with Jenna Ortega opening a gallery or something to sell the art that Delia created. And then Delia can just haunt her all the time, like being nosy about how much it's selling for and like telling her how to arrange it and everything. Like, that'd be kind of fun.
I was going to say, just being like a really annoying ghost who's complaining about the way that her granddaughter is like setting all of it up and doing all of these things. That would be great. I would watch that. Then you can have the miniature of the town gets moved from the house to the art gallery. I feel like Tim Burton should call us.
Yeah,
we're here. The phone's on.
We're here, Tim. Yeah.
I also agree with your, like, we need the three leads like in the same room more, because there's Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder scenes where they're talking about how, well, you were a terrible daughter or whatever, or stepdaughter, but we warmed up to each other. And I was kind of like, oh, but how did that happen, though? Because it didn't seem like you've ever really liked each other, but now you kind of do. So I guess it's just time passing, but what happened that you're still like friendly now?
I was going to say they're weird. Yeah, sort of like acceptance that the other one isn't really necessarily going to change, but it just almost feels like just sort of a leveling out of like, you know what? Neither one of us is going anywhere. So I guess we'll just sort of learn to like find a way to just accept how the other one is, which was a fun dynamic. But again, would love to have like dove into it. Every time that any of the characters talked about what happened in the interim between the first movie and this one, I got so excited to get a little bit more backstory, a little something like with the dad and all of this. And then every time, I think the only exception being what's his face's death. With the plane crash, where we got a whole claymation showing of the whole thing. But all the rest of it was sort of breezed over of like, yeah, why did this happen? How did this happen? Lydia mentions that like she and the dad had sort of fallen out even before he died. And it's like, but what do you mean? Are you not going to give us any more information about this? Or like, when was that? How old was Jenna Ortega's character when that happened? Like, we got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first movie is all about this couple, Alec Baldwin and what's her face, that are haunting the house. And there's some loophole that they're not there anymore. And we don't know what the loophole is. The loophole is never explained, but they found a loophole. They're not there anymore. And I think one of the things that I didn't love about Beetlejuice, the first one, is that it's really just about that couple. they're the driving force in that movie. It's not about Beetlejuice at all. Just about this, very nice couple. And for them not to be there, it's kind of like, oh, then just give us the fun stuff, right? Like they've gotten rid of the things that weren't as fun, in my opinion, which is the more realistic, grounded characters. They kept all the weirdos, and it's like, just let them be weird. Just let them go. Let's be goofy. Let's have fun. Why are we slogging through it occasionally?
You can't just have the fun people. You need something to ground it out. Like, it's Joey. If you do that,
just
it's
have the funny
Friends spin-off Joey, dude. Like, you would never want just a Kramer spin-off of Seinfeld.
4 Kramers.
Four Kramers.
4 Kramers.
I'd watch 4 Kramers.
Oh my God.
But I also feel like the first movie, Beetlejuice doesn't even show up for so long, and the threat of him is so looming. And then in this one, it's like, yes, again, in the very, very beginning, you're getting these flashes of him. He's sort of haunting. It's exciting, looming. And then when he shows up, it just feels anticlimactic. And I either would have loved to have him be the full focus, and like we're kind of following him and Lydia, but like kind of more him, or again would have wanted it to be like he's this big scary creep freak and Lydia has no choice but to partner up with him. But it felt a little more like he felt tame. He didn't feel big enough, scary enough, freaky enough. And I kind of wish either we had dove more into him or kept him as this like inexplicable figure.
Yeah. Yeah, they play it halfway. Like, it's crazy that this dude has he sends a guy to hell on a whim. In a very playful movie, he sends a guy to biblical hell. And like all the stuff that he can do is so cool and so fun. Like the way that they keep playing with the camera cuts with him. In the cartoon logic of him drawing a bomb on the wall. And it just seems like he is a Looney Tune living inside the rest of this world, that it neuters him in a weird way where, like, I don't know. I would be interested to see if they could find a way to follow him for the whole movie.
I was going to say, I think it'd be more fun either to just go full Looney Tune nuts, or you have to have that like sweet, grounded couple to balance him. and it played a little bit too much in the middle for me. Again, it's the kind of thing where it's like, if you just go for a surface level thing, great. I keep meaning to ask my nephew went to go see this movie as well. He's 11, and I really want to know if he liked it, because it feels like it's going to be the kind of thing he's going to be like, oh my God, it was so gross. I loved it. But if you're looking for deeper plot, there's other Halloween movies, other boots, other schools that you're like a little bit better.
See, I liked it when they were friends. I feel like my Beetlejuice exposure was really just the cartoon growing up. And they're like pals in that and going on zany adventures. And I generally like it more when people like each other. I just have more fun watching that. So I think they could have leaned into that harder and just gotten rid of the wedding thing altogether. Like, what if we get rid of his motivation to marry her and they just team up because he needs her help to get away from Dolores and she needs his help to get her daughter back, and they somehow have a truce where they can help each other out and they're like reluctantly teaming up or something like that. I think leaning into that more could also be more fun. But I also think that's not what Beetlejuice is. Beetlejuice is a disgusting old pervert who shows up and looks up skirts. And if that's what you're wanting nowadays, I think you didn't get it. You didn't get it in this movie. He wasn't enough of a creep. He wasn't enough of a monster. He's just a weird, Looney Tunes character. I think it's interesting. No, I was gonna say I agree that I do. Yeah, it's like we didn't necessarily need the wedding, although I did just adore how long they stayed in the absurd. Like, it started with like the musical and everyone lip syncing and like doing this, and then it went on for way longer than I anticipated. But it did the thing that I feel like is one of my favorite things in comedy, of like, it was really, really funny. And then it kind of wasn't that funny anymore. And then it was kind of super weird. And then it got over the hump and it was really funny again. And I was like, yes, you stuck with the bit long enough that we've come full circle and we're back to, this is so insane. I kind of love it.
Yeah. I felt the same way with the bit when Beetlejuice was explaining himself as a human. And it's like, in Italian, I forget what those are called, like bordello. Like, there's a type of like Italian horror movie that it cuts into, and then it cuts back to him and he's still speaking Italian.
Yes.
It just rocked.
I was going to say, those moments where it stuck with a joke for longer than you thought it should were just aces for me. Absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
There's still something kind of lame about Beetlejuice comedically, though. He makes jokes that are so weird. I think we were talking about it after, how he's like, oh, we should have gotten married in Vegas. And it's like, what is that?
Who is that for?
Like, who is this for? You could write jokes in 2024 and put them in the movie, right? Like, what is it? He just has like an old timey sense of humor that I guess watching the movie the first time I thought was more current, maybe. Because it was already old, in my opinion, somehow. So now he's just old. He's just an old person making old dad jokes, I guess. It's very strange.
They're not even like punny or clever dad jokes, though. You're right. It's just sort of like hack. It's like baseline. Yeah, it's like a weird baseline hack joke where you're like, I understand that has the structure and delivery of a joke. But like, that's okay.
Yeah, just the rhythms. He'll be like, he'll like lean into you and be like, "Hey, don't pay that guy $2." It's like, what the fuck does that mean?
You're like, oh, is there what? But explain the joke to me. Yeah. Like, I don't. Yeah.
I feel like it's like watching old stand up or something, like where it's like old Robin Williams stand up, and I'm like, I don't know why people are laughing so hard right now.
Yes.
There's no joke happening. There's nothing funny going on, but people are dying. It's like some people just have that. And Michael Keaton's great. I mean, he's so good and charismatic, and it's fun to see him do comedy stuff. He's incredible in this. I want to, before we end the pod, I have to acknowledge William Dafoe, though. Yeah. Because he is stereotypical and corny and just so cliche in the most fun way, playing an old timey cop. But not even a cop. He is an actor who played a cop in real life and is now working as a cop in the afterlife. So he treats that like he treated theater and prep for the show.
So
simple, So dumb. Every joke worked for me. He's like talking to his troops and lining them up, and his assistant has cue cards behind him.
Yes.
They keep handing him coffee, and all he does is crumple it up and throw the cup in the trash can. It's every bit he does is so funny to me, and I completely unnecessary to the story. Really adds nothing plot wise, but damn, if I didn't love every minute with William Dafoe in this, and if I rewatch, it's gonna be for him.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% agree with that. And I feel like that was the thing where it's like those weird Beetlejuice jokes of like, we should have gotten married in Vegas. I feel like Willem Dafoe, it was similarly like cheesy, funny, like, yeah, tropes and kitschy, you know, whatever. But it worked. And it was like, those were jokes that were funny and were delivered and like and written well, because Michael Keaton is amazing and I love him. And so I don't want to like shit on him and like his delivery. I think it was the lines he were given were not great. But Willem Dafoe, yes. And also just the hitch of having it be a actor who played a cop.
Which it confused me at one moment, because there's a thing where he's like, it's days like this that I wonder why I became a cop. And his assistant's like, you're not a cop, you're an actor. And he gives her that like smile and look. He's like, wait, so what is this? Do you have authority or not?
And then she also gets just a sort of unexplained of like, was she a secretary that was like murdered or what? What's her deal? But it doesn't matter. She's just there to provide a cup of coffee for him to get mad and crumple up and be like, God damn it. Now I got to go track down Beetlejuice. Like it worked.
Everyone else in the afterlife has a gruesome injury about why they died, but his assistant is just a hot woman who hands him coffee, and it just seems to be infatuated with him. And the way she looks at him, where she's like eating up all of it, is so funny to me, where he's just going and saying, she's like, you're an actor. And she says it like she's proud of him for it. And it's so funny
she's
and
like,
weird.
You didn't become a cop, as if like that would be much, you know, the much worse thing, where it's like, she's like, you're an actor.
So good. Shout out to her. She had great chemistry with him.
She did.
Yes.
They were very, very good. And yes, the cue cards, it was such a great, I've realized also a thing that I really love is when there's just like a sort of simplified bit of like, his character kind of had one thing going, which is that he's an over-the-top actor who played a cop for most of his career. And it's kind of his entire shtick. And it works and it's funny. And I don't mind that he's not more complicated, because he's a side, you know, that's his whole thing on the side. He doesn't need to be deeper in a way that I wish some of the other characters kind of maybe were, but
it's really fun. I love that stuff. Tim had a sketch that I used to love back in the day called Steve That Eats the Tickets. And the whole thing is that if this guy gets tickets in his hand, he's going to eat them. So like... The main one I remember is people who got to a movie theater early, and it's like, do not give the ticket to Steve. He's gonna eat it.
I love where you're just like, it's the one bit, but it works. And I feel like if you could have something like that where it's funny, it's great. Yeah.
That's the thing. Don't give this guy a ticket.
And then it's like, Steve, can you hold these tickets while I go to the bathroom? And it's like, yes, of course this is going to end badly. So funny. A great sketch on my part.
Bravo. I wish I could have been there.
But you're right. If William Dafoe's game is so focused, like, what is Beetlejuice's game? Is if he was a Looney Tune, the Looney Tunes are loony. Like, that's their thing. They're cartoonish and over the top. And he does jokes that are the chalk bomb exploding. Yes. But then also he's really gross. But then also he's making jokes about Vegas and all. And it's like, what is the connecting line for all of these, I guess, is my question.
I kind of wish it had leaned. It's not my favorite kind of humor, but I feel like it fits him so well, of just like the gross. And I feel like it's very Tim Burton-y too, to just be like, let's just be nasty and do like the cake when it's like wet and like beige. And I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Like those are the funniest, I feel like, and the most on the nose for him. When he does the Looney Tunes stuff, like it's funny because it just is. but it doesn't necessarily, you're like, where'd this come from? This feels a little off brand, but
yeah.
Oh, Beetlejuice.
He feels like the kind of guy that should be eating bugs. Like that 100% should be happening. Because I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, in the first movie, I believe he's a demon.
Yes.
And really threw me when we cut back to him being a human being, because if he's a demon, he wasn't a human being. And then in the first one too, what he wanted to marry Lydia. Would him marrying Lydia allow him to be on Earth like indefinitely, or did he just want a wife?
I think he wants to marry Lydia because then he can come back to Earth as a human.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Or is it just to be indefinitely on Earth as a demon? There's some plot holes here.
Yeah. I mean, again, stay shallow. It's a great time.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not necessarily mad about the fact that I can't figure out why he wants to marry Lydia, but it's, there's some questions. If you dive too deep, it's not going to be great. No, this is a shallow pool.
Any last thoughts on this one? Any beefs or thieves we didn't get to?
Ooh.
It's weird. The table thing was weird to me too, where he's like,
table thing.
The first one, he's trapped in the table in the town.
Oh, yeah.
But this time he has an office with Bob and them, and he has people working for him, and he has a business where he helps people haunt other people. So he's no longer limited to the table. And then they go into the table because Thoreau says Beetlejuice 3 times. And then they get out because Lydia just says home, home, home 3 times, and they get out. Literally there's no consistency with any of the rules in this. Nothing makes sense. This is really, you got to be a boat, just skimming the surface.
Yep.
No dives, no submarines in this movie. You just got to turn your brain off and just vibe in order to get this, because nothing makes any sense at all in this. There's nothing.
Do you know what? I think that this movie could fit into a particular subset of movies that I adore, which is that I always forget to bring headphones on airplanes. And so I will watch any movie but with the sound off. Visually, so fun. I think this is a great sound off movie. Just full surface. You can basically kind of guess the plot while you're watching it, but that doesn't even matter. Just enjoy the crazy costumes. The house in the Vale, I do have to say, was one of my favorite just little touches. That set design was incredible and so funny and so just great. But yeah, I feel like this is, as you said, if you're just a boat skimming the surface on an airplane, sound off, I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Just a boat on an airplane. I think.
Just a boat on an airplane, guys.
We didn't dig into the practical effects that much, but that's a huge thief for me. You know, we've been going through recently on the pod. We've been watching like Hellboy and Blade and like a few, as Tim coined them, bargain bin bangers. And anything with practical effects, it's a direct line to my heart. It looks so much better than CG.
I was going to say, it just is so fun and it hits different in a way that I feel like even if you don't know much about like how these things are created or what's going on, you sense it. It just feels, it hits different. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I have to imagine it's kind of like they get to interact with a thing in the room instead of a tennis ball on the end of a stick. I don't know if you've seen much about the Lord of the Rings movies where like for the Hobbit movies, it was mostly just Ian McKellen in a green room talking to tennis balls on sticks. And he said he was horribly depressed.
Yeah. Well, because like that's not acting. Or I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's just that's not what you signed up for. You're like, I want to play off a person or at least like a stand-in, you know. You want to when you can react to and physically interact with a thing. I think it just really changed even for in the Ian McKellens of the world, the best actors, you know, you can imagine, it just changes the way you do it. If you've got a physical, weird little freaky doll in front of you to play with.
Yeah.
We should just cut the first part of that and just be like, Abby says, Ian McKellen, that's not acting.
It's an amazing
Shots
quote.
fired on Nerdy for 30.
Shots fired. If the only way that Ian McKellen ever knew who I was or had that I existed was because I insulted him, I would cry deeply and truly and crawl into a hole from which I would never come back.
Srian.
We'll hold it back.
Srian.
We won't do that. We wouldn't do that to you. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Abby. This has been great. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Manysided Media, we have a brand new season for my first dungeon, Paint the Town Red, which just started, I believe, a week prior to this coming out. Sad vampires living in 1920s New York City, trying to party the sad away, and we'll see if they can do it. But
Hell yeah.
that'll be every other week through probably the end of October.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw in the newsletter today, there was a note in Chinook's Chaos Corner. He noted that he is playing a dumb character in it. And I was like, well, here we go.
Well, did you see you got a name drop?
I did. That was very kind.
In our newsletter. Yes.
Very, very kind. Very flattered.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can even, with our podcast, if you go all the way back to season 1, you can hear Kevin play as well.
It was a great time. It was a great campaign. Other guests to the show on that one as well. Jenny Gustafson, Blythe Robertson coming up. Brian, obviously, been here a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Good synergy. We got good synergy going on.
It was a good thing. We got everybody playing games. We're doing movies. We're having fun.
You gotta. You know what? You gotta. Just go out there. Don't think too hard. Have fun like a boat on an airplane. Listener?
Be a boat on an airplane.
Listener, what do you think? What do you think of Beetlejuice? Better than the first one? Worse than the first one? Let us know. Send us an email. nerdyfor30@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back here again next week, I think, with Blade. I think we're going right into Blade next week. So we'll see you then.
Ooh.
Maybe Blade.
Till then, stay nerdy, everybody. Bye.
Bye.